Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today we are playing in a new palette from Nars. This is the Skin Deep Eye palette. I'm going to be showing you guys this tutorial. I'll show you swatches. I'm going to go over everything. And then I do have a few or a couple palettes in my collection that I wanted to compare them to, which is the Loaded palette as well as the newest Atomic Blonde palette. First, let's get into the palette. So you have a more classic Nars feel. It looks like it would have like that rubbery kind of texture, but it's a little smoother than what I have felt in the past. And you have the classic Nars and we have the shade names on the back. Mine is open, if you can see, because for some reason, all my Nars eyeshadow palettes are really hard to open, and this was not an exception, but you open it up and these are the shades that we have on the inside. And then you can see the range of textures in here. This top row with the bigger shadows, all of those are mattes, and then you have two smaller mattes down here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get on Nars's website. So the Skin Deep Eye palette retails for $59 and it's a limited edition. You can get it on the Nars website. I bought mine on Sephora.com, and then it's also on Nordstrom's website. It's a multi-use palette containing 12 neutral shades to define, line, and highlight eyes and brows. This palette, at first I thought that this was supposed to be used on the face because they were larger like the Atomic Blonde, but they're not quite that big. I'm sure that if you had the right skin tone, you could probably use these to contour or something on the face. They are not the right shades for me, that is for sure, but you are supposed to be able to create different looks on the eyes. You're supposed to be able to line them and use this in your brows. I kind of feel like you can do that with just about any palette, so I'm not super stoked. I'm like, oh, you can do all these things. Like, I feel like with most palettes, given it has the right shades in there, that you can do that with it. This is from the Sephora website. It says, go from subtle to smoky with rich mattes, lustrous shimmers, and smoldering metallic shadows. Nars's Pigment Power Suspension technology delivers incredible payoff via pigment suspended in an innovative liquid binding system to create rich, long-wearing, high-impact color in one stroke. Now let's go ahead and get into the shades. So we have Taunt, which is a matte cream, Sophia, matte rich cool brown, Whipped, matte warm brown, Undressed, matte taupe brown, Bali, matte deep neutral taupe, Icon, shimmering rose gold, Basic Instinct, shimmering icy rose, Coconut Grove, matte deep brown, Centerfold, shimmery gray beige, Calendar Girl, shimmering golden brown, Faster Pussycat, metallic copper, and Unbuttoned, which is a shimmering deep brown. There's also a note on the Nars website that says, please note, Nars eyeshadows are high performance formulas developed to be lightweight for increased blendability and instant payoff, which may result in occasional dusting. So they're saying, if it's a little dusty or whatever, that's supposed to be that way. I didn't really have any huge problems with it, but I can see how the top shades especially are a little bit softer, but they worked really well. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and get into this eye look, and then I'm going to show you the comparisons to the other two palettes as well as my thoughts. Sonia G Crease 2, and the last shade in the first row is the last matte shade. It's gray. I'm taking it on the outer corner first, and then I'm going to start working it upward. I'm going to deepen up the crease with it, and just continuously, as excess product is off the brush, just bringing it upward and smoking it out right on this outer edge and into the transition area. Wearing glass number 6, and I'm just going to fluff this right underneath the lower lash line. Sonia G Crease Pro, and the first shade in the second row is just a darker gray. Going to deepen up the outer V and again into the crease, but I'm not going to bring this up so high like I did with the last shade. I'm going to drag it over on the lid just a little bit. Same brush, last shade in the middle row, and I'm going to just deepen up the very outer corner of the eye. MAC 242 and the first shade in the last row. I'm going to place this all over the lid and tapping over the last shade we did. I'm taking that shade on the tip of the brush and I'm going right at the front part of the lower lash line. Third shade in the second row, and I'm going to put this on the inner corner and then tap over the last shade right around the edges. Cleaned off the same brush, and I'm taking the first shade in the palette to highlight my brow arch. I'm also going to take just a little bit of that to the inner corner. I know it's not anything real bright, but just to help brighten it up a little bit without it being a blingy inner corner. And I'm going to go finish off with mascara and liner. I finished off the eye look with my milk liners. Of course, I used Boss on the inner top rim and then BCC right down below to help brighten up the look. Decided to go against lashes today. I thought I was going to, but yeah, I skipped them and we just went for mascara. So now I want to go ahead. Dang it, I just closed this stupid thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. Let me try and get this open. I don't know why their palettes are so difficult to open. I feel like I'm going to break my nails trying to get it open. Heaven forbid, like if you had fake nails. Okay, got it. We've got it. All good. So when I saw this palette, initially I didn't want it because it reminded me a lot of my Loaded palette, and I had a lot of requests to get it, and I kept saying I wasn't going to get it, but then I gave in. And I mean, the palette is beautiful, but it's, you know, it does look a lot like my Loaded palette. So I'm going to show you those. Well, that one and the new Atomic Blonde. Oh, I've got to open all these. Loaded palette and the new one. There we go, right there. So there are definitely a lot of similarities. The colors are not exactly the same, but they are similar. And then here we have the Atomic Blonde, which is a face palette. So you can use these on your face and these on your eyes. This one is called an eye palette because they're saying that you can use it on your brows. And then the Loaded palette is called an eyeshadow palette. But those are the comparisons. I'm going to insert some pictures of them side by side as well. And then I'm going to show you guys some swatches. So let me go ahead and show you the pictures. I just like showing pictures as well as showing on camera so you can see in the natural lighting. But now I wanted to show you the swatches of the colors that I felt were similar. So in the picture I'm about to show you, every first shade in each of like the little groupings comes from this palette. And then the second shade is from the Loaded palette. So you can definitely see some similarities and some differences. And then on one of them, there's 3 different shades, and that's because I grabbed this little guy here and popped it in there as well. I don't think that this one is super similar, but I still wanted to show it just in case you were wondering what it looked like up against the new one. But for me, I feel like even though I like the way that this looks, I like their formula. I have no issues with them at all. I feel like if you liked the formula of the Loaded palette, then you're going to like the formula of the Skin Deep palette, but I don't think that you need both. However, if you missed out on the Loaded palette, this is one of my absolute favorite palettes. Like, I love this palette so, so, so much. If you missed out on this one, this would be a good one to grab. But as far as my thoughts on this palette, I think it's beautiful. I think it's very easy to use. I think it's user-friendly. I think it blends out well. You get fallout, but minimal. Like, I barely got any fallout with this look. It was mainly with the shimmer, like this gray shade right up here. The only shade that I think is a little bit questionable is this last one. It's some type of shimmer. I would use that on an unset base or just to deepen up the look all over the lid with your lid already set, it's a little different. So, but everything else in the palette performed like I would expect a NARS palette to perform. It's great, but I don't think that this is a necessity. I think that this is just like, if you're going to get a lot of use out of it, it's a good palette. If you have the NARS loaded palette, I don't think you need it at all. It's not super similar to the face palette other than you have a few of the same similar tones. But anywho, that is my consensus on the palette. I think it's beautiful. I think it works well. I think that you'll be happy with it if that is something that you are looking into, but I do not think that's an absolute must. Yeah, I'm glad that I have it in my collection, but I didn't really need it because I had the loaded palette. Now I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again. But anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this look. I hope you guys enjoyed the side-by-side comparisons, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.